So Tenet is a Christopher Nolan movie written and directed by him. He's the one that brought us the Christian Bale Batman series. He brought us Inception, Interstellar and Dunkirk. This movie stars David Washington, who is the son of famous Denzel Washington. His character name is the protagonist, and he stars alongside Robert Pattinson's Neil. I'm not gonna lie, I've been sitting here for a while trying to figure out the best way to basically describe the story without giving spoilers and still trying to make it coherent. This movie, it can be confusing, but it is so good. Wow, I loved this movie. So my breakdown of the story is you have the protagonist. He is introduced to objects that have been time inversed. This isn't anything spoilery, but essentially what has happened is something has made certain objects that has come into its vicinity, it's given them the ability to be time inversed. So if instead of shooting a bullet at a wall, the bullet comes back into the gun instead. It's weird, but trust me, it is really good. Obviously, with this kind of technology, someone out there is going to try and use it for their own benefit and for purposes. And in this case, the world is at stake, obviously. So the protagonist enlists Neil, played by Robert Pattinson, to help him stop what is happening. Now trust me, that is the barest of bare bones when it comes to this story. This story is not an easy story to follow. This is not a movie where you can kind of just put it on in the background and think you can follow it. It is complicated. You need to watch things. There is a reason this movie is made by Christopher Nolan, and why I feel he is probably one of the few people, if not the only person, who could have pulled off a movie like this. I also understand not everyone's gonna like this movie because of how complicated it is, because of how complex the story and the mechanics of the story are. And not everything is made clear from the start. In fact, there are certain things which had me guessing and troubled for pretty much the whole movie until the end, and I still left the cinema going, oh, there were a couple of things where I'm like confused at. There's one scene, it's kind of like an interrogation scene, where I'm still a bit confused at what happened there. Even though I have a better idea of it now, having fully watched the movie, I'm still a little bit confused as to how they understood each other the way they did it. Don't get me wrong, this movie's got problems, but for me it was presentation mainly. I saw this movie on IMAX, and whilst that made the action set pieces and the sound of everything awesome, I struggled to hear some of the dialogue, which, if I'm not mistaken, was pretty important. I was straining my ears because there was so much background noise that I really couldn't, and I wish there were certain places where there were subtitles. I think it's going to get a lot of comparisons with Inception because of its subject material and who it's made by. I personally think Inception is a better made movie, but I think Tenet is a better story in my opinion. It might not necessarily be as cohesive, but the world it builds is so interesting. There are so many possibilities, and with Inception, I'm basically saying leave Inception as it is. I don't necessarily need to see any more. But with Tenet, I'm going, oh my word, this world is just fantastic and phenomenal, and this idea is so out there and brilliant. I want to see more, not necessarily from these characters, but just from this world and using this technology and what it can do.
Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too.
Also, I've got to tip my hat to Christopher Nolan. This guy, he knows how to make a damn good movie. This movie looked amazing. Now, I cannot talk about this movie without mentioning Ludwig Göransson. I think this guy is a superstar. If you guys don't know, Ludwig Göransson is a composer, so he did the music and score for this movie, and he is phenomenal. He's at his absolute best when it comes to this movie. I think this guy is an absolute genius. I think he's going to be up there with the likes of John Williams and Ennio Morricone, because really he knows his stuff when it comes to how to make you feel with just music. Overall, this movie is not going to be for everyone. If you are a casual moviegoer, I do not think you're going to get the most out of this movie. I thought this movie was amazing. If not a little confusing. I hold my hands up. I was a bit confused at times. But most of the time the movie basically brought me in enough to understand what was going on. I think this movie is amazing and I really want to own this movie. So there you go guys, I hope you enjoyed this review of Tenet, and let me know what you thought of the movie, and please let's have a discussion if that's what you want. I'm all ears, I'm open for it. Leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Thanks.